Assalamu alaikum. This is Kamran Sultan, and welcome to NLP for Therapists. This session, we are starting now officially, inshallah ta'ala. Before we start, let me just tell you a few things. हमारा आज का जो session है, this is just an introductory session, okay? And NLP is a very large field. NLP की even जो basic जो training होती है, जो practitioner training कहलाती है, that's a 70 hours of training. एंड इसी तरह जो इवन मेरी जो लाइफ कोच सर्टिफिकेशन ट्रेनिंग है दैट्स ओवर जो बेसिक कोर्स है उसका दैट्स अ 1 month लॉन्ग कोर्स व्हिच इज लाइक अबाउट अ मंथ इट्स लाइक मोर देन 30 hours ऑफ ट्रेनिंग. सो ये जो प्रोग्राम है हमारा आज का जो सेशन है इसका मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू गिव यू some tools, some ideas how you can use NLP in your life, if you're working as a therapist, as a counselor, as a coach, and the way that I use NLP. Okay. And in NLP, there is no one way of doing anything. So this is the way that I work, that I have been using. And I'm not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist. I do not work with any kind of psychological problems. So, if you have any questions about that, hold your questions. I'll not be able to answer them because, I work with normal, healthy people and people like you who want to improve their lives, and I mainly work on generative change. Okay. And so I will not be I'll try to use language जो कि ज़्यादा एक layman terms के अंदर हो. So because I'm recording this, and my expectation is that some people will be watching this. So for example, there are people who have signed up for this session and they'll be watching the recording of this, and there will be other people who will be buying this program from me, and they'll be watching it in future. So I'll be using language so that the other person on the person on the other side of the screen, whom I don't know yet, okay, will be able to benefit from this. And with that in mind, we will begin. Okay. And I'm recording. So if you come online, you ask me a question, you make a comment, you will be recorded in video. So I want you to be very clear about this. So, बाद में लोग कहते हैं so मेरी video record हो गई. Okay. So I'm recording it. This recording will be available. And how many therapists, by the way, or how many people, workers do we have here? अभी आप यहाँ पर जो लोग हैं, you can just type 1 or type I, so I know. So you work with people in some capacity, whether you work as a coach, you work as a counselor, you work as a therapist, okay, where you help people change and get from where they are to where they want to be. Okay. You just have to type 1 or I. Both are okay. I see only 2 people. What about the rest of you? Nida, Amara, Noor, Sufia, Abdurrahman. I think Abdurrahman, आप कुछ लोगों के साथ काम करते हैं. Okay. So, and this is not an NLP program, so I'll not get into a lot of details of NLP. Just to give you an idea, NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. Okay, programming brain through language. That's the simplest way I can define it. NLP is not therapy. NLP has applications in everything. So NLP has applications in therapy. NLP has applications in coaching. NLP has applications in learning, in personal development, in business, in relationship building, in leadership development. NLP is like electricity. It can be and is applied in many, many different things. So NLP is not therapy. हमारा ये जो session है इसमें, if you're watching this and you're attending this, I want you to be very clear about this, that this is not the only thing in which NLP is used. NLP is used in a variety of things. This is one of the applications of NLP. And यहाँ पर मैं specifically, therapy के हवाले से, like changing human behavior modification, इन चीजों में आप NLP को किस तरह apply करते हैं. So जब हम change की बात करते हैं, and as a therapist, there are certain things. The first thing is that with the mindset with which you are operating, the mindset with which you are, showing up in a therapy session, in a coaching session, in a counseling session. Because before you do anything else, how you show up makes the biggest difference. If you show up with the mindset with a certain fixed ideas of treating people, okay, and certain models that you have learned from NLP or from any other things, and you are working so you can adjust other, your clients in that model, you will have a different kind of approach. And if you come up with this mindset that your client is unique and they have a different, they are different, and rather than trying to adjust them to the model, you adjust the models that you have learned and adjust the model for your client, you will have a different approach. So NLP mein, there are certain set of beliefs, certain set of mindset with which we work when we work with people. Okay. And one of them is, and in fact, this the very first of them is that every client is unique. Every person I work with is unique. Every person you come across is a unique person. Okay. They are different. Now they look same. So they have two eyes and 2 ears and one nose, but internally they are all different. और NLP का एक हमारा basic जो principle है about human behavior is, it's like in lot of NLP books, you will hear this. In number of my videos, you will see me talking about this. And the basic principle is that perception is not reality. But people act and behave on the basis of their perceptions, not on the basis of reality, but on the basis of their perceptions of reality. हम NLP में इसको इस तरह से कहते हैं, इससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि मेरी और आपकी जिंदगियों में क्या हो रहा है. फर्क उससे पड़ता है कि मैं और आप जो हो रहा है उसको हम क्या समझ रहे हैं. So when a client comes to you, every single person is a unique individual. A lot of times people will have similar expression of their problems. So I have a WhatsApp group for women and a WhatsApp group for men. Well, या मेरा जो हजरात का ग्रुप है उसमें दो हजरात ने exact same baat kahi. Okay. And they presented problem and they said, it's like, I procrastinate things. Now, that's the presenting problem. A presenting problem jo hai, even though they are saying exactly the same thing, when I work with people, and you may have find that when you work with people, these are two different problems actually, is that they're labeling it in exactly the same way. So a गलत approach वो ये हो सकती है कि मैंने ये सुना कि जी अच्छा प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन है तो आप ये टेक्निक अप्लाई कर लीजिए, प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन है तो आप ये कर लीजिए, आप एंकरिंग कर लीजिए, आप सब मोडालिटी चेंज कर लीजिए. एंड दैट्स व्हाट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल यू फाइंड दे डू, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली दैट डजंट वर्क. बिकॉज ये जो अप्रोच होती है ये वो वाली अप्रोच होती है कि जैसे हमारे यहाँ इट्स लाइक सर में दर्द हो रहा है, पैनाडोल खा लो. Okay, इंस्टेंट हमने उसका सोल्यूशन बता दिया बगैर ये जाने कि सर की दर्द की असल वजह क्या है. And a lot of times you will find when people come to you, they come with that kind of approach. Clients who come to you, they have this mindset कि उनको कोई टेक्निक बता दी जाए, उनको कोई फॉर्मूला सिखा दिया जाए, उनको कोई ऐसी मेडिटेशन, कोई ऐसी तरकीब बता दी जाए जिसके नतीजे में उनका जो प्रॉब्लम है वो खुद ब खुद रिजॉल्व हो जाए. And that's the approach with which a lot of clients come to you. I've been practicing for 26 years and एक चीज मैंने countless times लोगों से सुनी है. So for example, when people come to me for their hypnosis sessions, they tell me, sir, मेरे साथ ये problem है, and they tell me their story, and then they say, मैं चाहता हूँ या मैं चाहती हूँ आप मुझे मेरे पास्ट में ले जाएं और मेरे पास्ट में से ये मसला खत्म कर दें. Because they have assumed, number one, what the problem really is. Number two, what the solution is. This is like somebody going to a doctor and saying, डॉक्टर साहब मेरे पेट में गुड़गुड़ हो रही है और मेरे ख्याल से आप मुझे जो है ऑपरेट करें और ऑपरेट करके मेरे पेट में से ये जो गुड़गुड़ हो रही है इसको निकाल दें. So sometimes people approach you in that way. Okay, you never jump to conclusions like that. Okay, if you buy into this, assuming, because a problem jo therapists ya counselors ya coaches ke saath hota hai, which I have seen, I've trained a number of psychologists and coaches, and the problem that I've seen is unse paise le rahe hain. अब अगर पैसे लेके हमने उनको रिजल्ट नहीं दिया तो फिर मसला हो जाएगा, सो इसलिए उनकी बात माननी है. That's where you get into trouble. Okay, because that is an indication that you don't understand what your job really is. We'll talk about that shortly. Okay, so the person that you're working with is operating from a certain set of perceptions. And when they come to you, they are presenting their set of perceptions to you. And their set of perceptions appear to them as truth, appear to them as real. And they may be expressing their perceptions to you in using similar words. However, those words that they're using to express whatever issues they may be bringing only represent their understanding of the problem, not the problem. Does this make sense? A lot of times people come with this, ye mere bhai hai, ye meri behan hai, ye mera bachcha hai, ye mera husband hai, ye meri wife hai, someone else, and they say, iske saath ye problem hai, ye problem hai, ye problem hai, ye problem hai. Because they have assumed that they understand what the problem is with other people. They do the same with themselves. Okay, they make assumptions that what their problem is, why it started, and how it should be resolved. When you're working with people, and this is what they call their, I call their stories. We'll talk about this shortly. So I tell my students, do not buy your clients' stories. Listen to them to understand that this is their current understanding of their problem, but do not buy into it. Okay, so for example, if a person comes to you and he says कि ये जो पौधा रखा हुआ है, इस पौधे की वजह से मेरे घर में बड़ी बरकत होती है, और ये जो पौधा है ये मेरी सेहत जो है इसकी वजह से बरकरार रहती है, मेरे घर का जो आबो हवा है वो इस पौधे की वजह से जो है साफ सुथरी रहती है. You recognize that in this person's map of the world, in his experience or her experience, in their perception, this is the case. Okay, so you respect their model of the world. You respect doesn't mean you accept. And when you respect their model of the world, you will be able to connect with them at a deeper level. Because all therapy, all coaching or counseling starts with one thing, and that's rapport. Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit again. So the first thing is that every client you work with is a unique client, is a unique human being, is a unique person. They may have use similar words to express their issues, but they are different human beings. And their issues are different. Okay. Now, tell me, if you approach every human being that you work with this mindset that this is a unique human being, how would your life be different? Think about this. How can things be different for you? Okay, I'll unmute you so you can share some of your thoughts about this. And you can unmute yourself if you want. Okay, if you approach people like this, that every person is different. Now, if you are a parent, by the way, you may have noticed your two children are different human beings. They are not same. दोनों आपका खून है, आपकी औलाद है, आपके घर में उनकी परवरिश हो रही है, बट वो दो मुख्तलिफ इंसान हैं. आप दोनों को इक्वल ट्रीट करने की कोशिश करते हैं, मगर वो दोनों मुख्तलिफ इंसान हैं. Do you understand? Now, a person coming to you is just as unique. every single person you work with is unique. आपने देखा होगा कि अगर आप एक ही तरीके से दोनों बच्चों के साथ ट्रीट करने की कोशिश करें, it doesn't work. आपके बच्चे, आपकी अपनी औलाद doesn't give you the same, don't give you the same response. So what do you need as a parent? You need to have flexibility in yourself. You cannot say, मेरे बच्चे हैं तो मैं जानता हूं या मैं जानती हूं. Unfortunately, a lot of times, you may have even heard this, अम्मी आप नहीं सुनती हैं, बाबा आप नहीं सुनते हैं. Okay. They feel that you don't understand. Why not? Especially if you have teenagers, you may have heard this. And why not? Because, you are trying to approach them as mera bacha. Yes, wo aapka bacha hai, but that's a unique human being, a unique individual. Do you get this? So when you're working with people, you have to approach them as unique human beings. Okay. Any thoughts on this so far? When you approach a person, every client as a unique, what do you think can and will happen? And what will you require as their coach, as their counselor, as their therapist, in yourself? What do you think what you will require?
So when you're actually thinking that, everybody is unique, so you actually come up with your own gray सारा कुछ मिला के out of the black and white, and you can customize their treatment and their therapy. So in my perspective, अगर आपको पता है that everybody is unique, तो आप उनकी थेरेपी या whatever counseling coaching भी उसी यूनिक तरीके से ही करते हैं, the one that is specifically specified to that person in that particular moment of time.
Thank you for sharing that, Nida, because that takes us to the next belief. And the next belief is, a lot of times people have this, the people are resisting change. In NLP, we say there is no such thing as a resistant client. It's only inflexible therapists. So when we are approaching a client and a client doesn't seem to be responding the way we think they should, there is nothing wrong with the client or even with you. What is wrong is the way that you're approaching. Okay. It's not that the client is resistant. Client has come to you. They are paying you because they want to change. They are not paying you because so they can show how resistant they are. They are there because they want to change. And that's why they have come to you. But if they are, if you're experiencing resistance from them, that means that your approach, it needs more flexibility. Rather than trying to fix them on the model that you've learned, it's like ये जो approach होती है हमारे, ओके जी आपकी डेट ऑफ बर्थ क्या है, अच्छा आप फलाने इस महीने के, तो आप पे स्टार ये है, इन स्टार के लोगों के अंदर ये तमाम क्वालिटीज होती हैं या ये तमाम खराबियां होती हैं. Okay, and now they have put on this frame, and with that frame, this is how you appear to them. And so there's no such thing as a resistant client. It's only inflexible therapists. And as a successful therapist, when you're working with people, whether you're using NLP as a tool, as a model, and here's another thing I want you to understand. NLP is a means to an end. NLP is not an end in itself. Okay, it's a tool that you use. So for example, a lot of times when people come to me, they say, sir, mere saath aap NLP karenge ya hypnosis? That depends what they need. For me, I don't think of NLP and hypnosis as two separate things. Yes, these are different courses to learn each modality separately, but even those of you who have taken my NLP courses, you have learned hypnosis with that. So when people have this, it's like, aap ye karenge ye. And sometimes people try to fit people in those things. That's when we get into trouble. Then the third thing is that, again, this is my personal experience. What you will find is this: every single session, in every session, you will learn something. So there is no such thing as failure as a therapist. You cannot fail as a therapist. You will work with a client. You will do some things will work, things may not work. With some people, some things will work, with some other people, some other things will work. NLP में एक बहुत strong influence एक therapist का है. His name is Dr. Milton H. Erickson. Milton Erickson was the person who was a medical doctor, trained psychiatrist, and he treated about 30,000 people over 60 years of his practice from 1920 until his death in 1980. He was a medical doctor, as I said. He was the head of Arizona State Hospital, psychiatry department का head था. And Milton Erickson जो था, he has written over 100 research papers and books on hypnosis. So उसका जो काम है इतना vast है that there is a separate branch of hypnosis which is based entirely on his work called Ericksonian hypnosis. Milton Erickson, when he worked with people, he approached them, every client, in a different way. कुछ लोगों ने जो मिल्टन एरिक्सन के साथ काम किया है, जे हेली, सिडनी रोजन, इन लोग, ये वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने 18 साल मिल्टन एरिक्सन के अंडर काम किया है. And they said, we never saw Milton using same hypnotic induction twice, because he was customizing his approach with every single human being, because he was operating with this mindset that every person is different. So a lot of times people, when they're learning hypnosis, they have a script and then they want to use that script with clients. And मैं अपनी classes में एक चीज कहता रहता हूँ, like आपको मेरे courses में भी I give you scripts, but I tell you, remember ये scripts, these are like the training wheels in a cycle. कि जब बच्चा साइकिल चलाना सीखता है तो साइड में ट्रेनिंग व्हील्स होते हैं, उसको जब बैलेंस आ जाता है, then you don't need those wheels. So scripts जो होते हैं उनका मकसद is only to give you, this balance. In a very similar way, when you are any models that you may have learned in therapy, in coaching, in counseling, use them as training wheels for you, not to compartmentalize people. Oh, this person has this and this person has that. Okay, that would be it won't be a very helpful approach for you as a therapist, as a counselor, as a people helper. Okay, so every person is different. Now, here's another thing, another approach with rework, that every client is an expert in their life. I'm not the expert in your life. You are the expert in your life. You know your life better than any other human being. So when you come to me for a coaching session, if I act as if I am the expert, that would be a mistake on my part. I'm not the expert in your life. You are the expert in your life. And every resource you need to make any change is already within you. So when you work with people, they are the experts in their lives, even though they may be labeled as mentally disturbed, but the fact is they are the experts. Now, what does that mean? That means कि जब आप लोगों के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, in order to understand उनके साथ हो क्या रहा है, ask, find out from them, observe. They are the expert in whatever they are experiencing. इसका रिवर्स क्या होगा, जो हम बात में पहले भी में कि हमने एक मॉडल पढ़ा हुआ है और हमें एक बंदा नजर आया, हमने कहा ओके, ये मॉडल, ये बंदा, इस बंदे को मैंने इस मॉडल पे फिट करना है, assuming that the model that I have learned is accurate, is correct. And I'm emphasizing this so much because this is the biggest mistake that I've seen people make. Okay, we have learned a model created by some expert and now trying to fit the world on that model. ये बिल्कुल वही अप्रोच होती है जो हम नौजवानी में करते आए हैं. अच्छा, तुम्हारा स्टार ये है, ओ इस स्टार के लोग में तो ये क्वालिटीज होती हैं, मेरा स्टार भी यही है, तो हम दोनों एक ही स्टार के हो गए. या ये स्टार वाले जो इनके साथ इनकी दोस्ती होती है, उनके साथ इनका झगड़ा होता है, मेरा तुम्हारे स्टार जो है ना, हम दोस्ती वाले इसमें. Okay, and people start with that kind of mindset. It's like in NLP, by the way, we say Humans follow patterns. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Sometimes people have this fixed ideas about these stars and things, and they come up with that same kind of mindset and become people helper. And now they have learned some techniques, they have learned some formulas, and now they're applying those techniques and those formulas in exactly the same way on people. A dangerous approach. Okay. Yeah, so they are trying to be on common grounds. It was like, देखा मैं और हम दोनों में कितनी चीजें similar हैं. Okay. जी रमजान, you want to say something?
जी सर, यहाँ आपने मॉडल का जिक्र किया. एक और भी इशू होता है थेरापिस्ट के दरमियान, और शुरू में जब मैंने प्रैक्टिस शुरू की तो मेरे साथ ये मसला था. प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है, जब कोई क्लाइंट आया है, लेट सपोज कि उसे कोई स्ट्रेस रहता है या वो एंगर कंट्रोल के लिए आया है, तो मैं क्या करता हूं सर, उसकी स्टोरी सुनकर अपनी स्टोरी में फिट करता हूं कि भाई मुझे जिन जिन मसाइल की बुनियादों पर गुस्सा आता रहा है, यकीनन ये उसी चीज से गुजर रहा है, या मुझे जिन जिन चीजों की बुनियाद पर स्ट्रेस आने लगा है, ये भी वही चीजों से गुजर रहा है. बजाय उसके बारे में इन डेप्थ जाने के, मैंने जो अपने आप पर अप्लाई किया होता है, मैं उस पर थोपना शुरू कर देता हूँ. तो मॉडल
Yeah.
तो हम थोप ही रहे होते हैं थेरापिस्ट, मगर साथ साथ अपनी स्टोरी भी उनके साथ मैच करने की कोशिश करते हैं. ये भी एक
Yeah,
इशू है.
that's absolutely right. And that's one of the problems that a lot of therapists have. So they have this, okay, so इसके साथ जरूर, मेरे साथ बचपन में फलानी चीज हुई थी, मेरी अम्मा ने मुझे डांटा था, मेरे अब्बा ने मुझे मारा था, मेरे मोहल्ले के अंकल ने मेरे साथ यूं किया था, तो ये आया है तो इसके साथ भी ये है. Okay, that's a very dangerous approach. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Ramzan, because it's like when we say they have stories, we'll talk about these, what we mean by stories. यहाँ तक अभी तक जो हमने बात की है, does this make sense? Do you have any questions so far? Anything? Anyone? Jinida, I see a raised hand.
I just like to add we unique वाली बात के ऊपर कि even आप hypnosis भी करते हैं या whatever, so how unique everything has to be. For like for example, I just want to share my example कि मुझे जब भी whenever I go through anxiety or stress या मुझे sleeplessness का issue होता है, so I listen to hypnotic audios and then whatever जो भी XYZ. अच्छा, मेरे साथ प्रॉब्लम ये है that sea water for some people is very calming. So I've seen बहुत सारी videos में there's पानी की आवाज and everything. I don't know if you recall that I have some sort of phobia related to sea animals. So for me, that particular audio is more anxiety inducing rather than relaxing. So like the way we were talking about how unique somebody is and how therapy या जो भी hypnosis आप लोगों के लिए करते हैं for their problem resolution or whatever, uniqueness is very important. For the fact that for some people a forest sound or maybe rain might be soothing. For somebody like me, पानी की जो आवाज है, that is so scary that I would rather go into a panic attack rather than having a relaxation session with that hypnosis audio. तो वही बात again I'm repeating कि if we know what people's story are and if we make design our therapy sessions accordingly, that is when it is most most suitable, yeah, successful, whatever jo bhi, yeah, fruitful for the client and the therapist also. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you for sharing that. And you know what, Nida, आपकी बात से मुझे याद है, I once had a client and he had the same thing. He said, it's like वो जो पानी वाली आवाजें होती हैं, जब भी मैं सुनता हूँ तो वो लोगों के लिए बड़ी रिलैक्सिंग होती हैं, बट हमारे यहाँ जब भी बारिश होती है तो कराची के अंदर जो रोडों का हशर होता है, जो घरों के अंदर पानी आता है, तो he said every time I listen to this it reminds me of those things. Okay, so he had some negative associations with that. So the thing is this: find out what your positive associations are and then use them, if that's the issue. So now let's talk a bit about different roles. Like